Uh, oh. And anyway, he is on the board of the Black River Independent School now. And I know they're doing some fundraising. They're also offering a summer camp. And we just thought it would be nice if they could update us on what's going on and see if maybe we can help them with a little donation. Patrick.
Well, thank you, Sharon, and thank you to the Rotary Club. It's a pleasure to be here. Actually, just about a little over a year ago, my colleague, Marissa Selleck, and I met with you to announce our plans to open the Black River Independent School in August of 2020. I can tell you that we're very pleased this year. This week, we're wrapping up our first year. So it was a success to have opened it and to have worked our way through the year. We're also very proud to announce we'll be celebrating our graduation this Saturday at the town hall. We have our one and only senior who will be graduating. She is also a first generation college student, which makes it even more exciting for all of us. And it's a great note to end the first year on. Throughout this past year, there's certainly been a lot of ups and downs. There's been some bumps and bruises, I'd say, but the learning curve has been steep at times. Nevertheless, we persevered, and we've had many accomplishments to celebrate just through this first year alone. Let's see. We were very fortunate to hire Dr. Kendra Rickerby, who has now joined us. I see her on screen. And she has helped to guide us through our first year as the head of school and our lead teacher. She'll speak to you a little bit more later on and answer some of your questions, I'm sure. Through all of this, we really haven't had a chance to come up for air or take our foot off the gas pedal because we're really busy planning for year two. Year one, we operated as a recognized school by the state of Vermont. There are a handful of schools in Vermont that operate as recognized schools. Basically, it means that we are not eligible to receive the local education tuition tax dollars for our students. We operated on a budget of $140,000 for 16 students. That was all philanthropically fundraised by our board. So none of those students had to pay to attend our program this year. And I'm pleased to say through COVID, we actually offered on-site education for those students who chose to attend full-time on-site, but some of them chose to go online at times as well. But again, very successful for us. So our goal for next year is to carry a minimum of 16 students. 16 students at a cost of $150,000. We've got some fundraising to do, a lot of work ahead of us, and we're very busy and involved in that process. In April of this past spring, we launched our Business Pledge campaign. We reached out to over 120 area businesses asking for support and donations. Being COVID this past year was very difficult to successfully plan major fundraising campaigns. It was very difficult. So we're hoping that through our Business Pledge campaign, we can make up some of that. And at the same time, we're inviting those same businesses to join us in conversations with how to form our curriculum, how to form our school to help meet their needs. There's a lot of businesses in Ludlow that need support. Graduating seniors coming out of school, we'd like to see some of them stay in the area, become involved in the area businesses. I think that would be great for the students, be great for the community. So in order to do that, we feel that we should get the input of area businesses. So we invite you and as business leaders to definitely reach out to us, Kendra, to have that conversation as what is it that we can do in our curriculum that's going to help. So through our Business Pledge campaign, We've been successful to date, but we're still in the process of collecting donations and collecting input. And we're hoping that Rotary, which has been a long time leading supporter of local education in Ludlow, will support us. It certainly would be great to actually have a school in the community that Rotary can support. I know through the years they've supported the exchange student program, and we would love to be able to reach out and host exchange students in the near future. It's great exposure for our students, for local families. And I don't think anybody can argue with the success of the exchange program that Rotary sponsored through the years. So again, we're asking that Rotary will support us, and we look forward to talking with members. At the same time that all of this is going on, we are also in the process of applying for state approval. State approval would provide us the opportunity to receive local tax tuition dollars for our students. Obviously, that would be huge to supporting us financially. The process is actually twofold. One is the application piece itself. It's a lot of forms that are filled out. A lot of it we're in the process of preparing, but I think we feel that we can support a very strong application going into the process. The second piece of it is the financial piece. 2 years ago, we started the process and met with the state. And in our conversation with them, they told us that we had to show financial viability. And when we asked what exactly that meant, they said, we're not exactly going to be clear about it. And they haven't been, as we keep trying to find out. But as best that we can tell is they would like us to show 2 years of operating funds in our bank, so that we can support ourselves over the course of 2 years. At $150,000 for 16 students, then we would need to raise $300,000 to have in our bank account as we go into the process of state approval. We are currently launching a program that we hope will provide us that funding. Certainly, if anybody's interested, it's called our Donor Participation Program. I'd be happy to speak to anybody if you have any interest in supporting us, or perhaps know people that we should be talking to. But that is our big move for the future and what we have coming up. I think I would, at this point, answer questions, or maybe even easier is turn it over to Kendra. And she can share some insight to the success of the school this year and what we look forward to, but also answer questions as well.
Welcome, Kendra.
Hello. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I have to admit, I was like, it started at 12:20, correct? And I reread the email, so I'm glad to be on time. Oh. Hope that's okay. I entered. To speak to what Pat was just mentioning about our progress, could I ask you, what do you know, or what would you like to know more about? I don't want to be redundant in the name of respecting time. If I may, I will add to the chat a link to one of our accomplishments this year, which was the creation of a program of studies. And that explains the robust academic offerings that we're providing. This will also be a centerpiece of our application to secure that taxpayer dollars follow students to this school. This is the core of what's needed for that application. So having that professionally designed and published, we have some hard copies that we could distribute if people prefer the print version, is one of our accomplishments. So if I may ask, what else would you all like to know or are aware of what's happening?
Kendra, I know some people have asked questions about the proposed summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
Explain about that.
Thank you. Yes, we have 4 offerings, 2 theater camps. One is a Rise and Shine Hero Project and a Make a Scene, both taught by Susan Hefner, who is currently working with us as a performing arts and ELA educator, English language arts. Susan is a Broadway actress whose career was paused because of COVID. And so we've engaged her this year, September to June. She's been doing a lot with improv skit writing, which speaks to the overlap with English. This summer, those 2 theater camps, all of our camps, including the kayak building, are designed to have kids unplug from Zoom. To be outside, to be developing the interpersonal skills. They will occur right here at 43 Main Street, primarily outside when weather allows. And the theater camps are for younger ages. The Rise and Shine is 6th through 10th grade, 10 years old, excuse me. And the Make a Scene is middle school age. There's a third camp, kayak building, which speaks to being an expeditionary school. The kayak building will be taught by Dr. Eric Feldberg, who has had a career and technical education in the state of New Hampshire. He's an avid woodworker and restores vintage sailboats and whatnot. So the purpose of the kayak building is really to show how the interrelated curriculum, the hands-on, how you construct this kayak, the science of needing to make sure it floats and doesn't leak, and all that balance will be a component. The final exam will be to launch the kayaks. Does it float? Is water coming in, right? Is to just really get us back to the natural environment, connected with the beauty of Lake Echo and this area. We are actively soliciting grants and have scholarships available for Ludlow and Mount Holly residents, because we recognize that the price tag on that is intimidating, and our goal is to make this accessible to local children. We are also offering any of these camps to vacationers. You know, being an independent school, we have that ability. For the theater camps, I've had 4 grandparents reach out and say, I've got my grandkids coming this summer. I've invited them to come early so they can fit your schedule. How do I get them in? And that's really the spirit of what we're trying to do here, is build out a school that strengthens community and invites. In this one incident of the family that I was thinking about for the theater camp, that grandchild's coming from a school that's still fully remote. So they're seeing this as an opportunity. They live in a different state to come be in Vermont. And so my hope, the board's hope, our strategy is that long-term, that's a recruiting tool. The summer camps are used to recruit students into our September to June model. Does that answer what Sharon, you were looking for? Okay,
Yep, that's great.
We also have advertised a nature writing camp that would be taught by me. The theater and the kayaking is garnering more attention. I'm not sure why. I kind of know why. I won't comment on why. But that is where we're also now putting our attention, is to get participants into those 3. But speaking to our progress, we have also forged partnerships with Castleton University and Black River Innovation Campus. And with the spirit of that goal of strengthening community and helping create a school system that can also be used for workforce development. For instance, Susan Hefner, as I said, was a Broadway actress. Her industry has been paused. How can we hire trained, talented professionals to deliver education is something we're thinking about. In our program of studies, it articulates that for 11th and 12th grade, we look to build out a dual enrollment program with 3 career clusters, learning pathways, as we're calling them, that will be in food and agriculture systems, hospitality and resort management, and information technology. That is more the 3 to 5 year strategic plan that we're using. The kayak building, the engineering skills that are developed in the middle school years to show placement potentially in one of those pathways, the IT being the most directly STEM related. That's a work in progress, and that's where I invite, as Pat said, any business owner to speak to us about your ideas of what you need for a future workforce. Another key piece of our program of studies is that we are focused on habits of work, and I look at those habits of work as the employability skills. Communicating appropriately, being on time, work completion. I've taught in Vermont public schools and for a short time in Boston Public for 25 years. And it's my opinion that the accountability to that habits of work has changed as our culture is changing. And so we're trying to bring a focus back to that.
So Kendra, just back to the 3 academies that you spoke about and partnering with Castleton. Can you speak to the associate degree that students have a possibility of earning?
Sure. So the aim with dual enrollment with Castleton is that the 11th and 12th grade experience can simultaneously earn students the equivalent of an associate's degree, so that graduate high school with the credits of that toward. It works very much like advanced placement does, that you've earned 4 or 5 on an AP exam, and so you can get some college credit for that. This is a model that other states have used and is underway in Vermont. We have enabling state policy, the mandate Act 77 flexible pathways, which makes that possible. So Castleton is our partner for that, to award that dual enrollment credit. And what can happen during the summer camps is all of that learning, the evidence that's produced while students are participating in theater or building a kayak, will then be tagged to the academic standards of our report card that work out to our transcript, so that you can use the summer learning to expedite proof that students are working towards the credentials, the dispositions that are needed. And the aim there is the affordability, that when we graduate students from high school with the equivalent of associate's degree, there's then 2 years of college to finance, should that family or that individual desire a bachelor's degree. But from a workforce development perspective, the associate's degree is very much needed to secure the entry-level positions. So Castleton will be our accrediting partner for that coursework. Black River Innovation Campus is working with us to secure the technology that we need to offer the distance learning, to offer our hybrid model. So access to broadband does not impede anybody's ability to move through any of our programs, be that 11th and 12th grade experience. And if you choose not to do one of those 3 learning pathways, there's still a general education to pursue. So the BRIC partnership, we also have Okemo Valley TV partnership, is helping us build out the technology that allows us to be nimble in what we offer, when and where. Another development that speaks to our vision is we've been working with the Vermont Institute of Natural Science, who we've taken field trip to VINS, been a part of some special symposiums, a chickadee feeding station experiment, and also their raptors exhibit. And so by working with VINS, they then serve as our environmental and science instructor. And the aim is that an investment in the Expeditionary School also supports and maintains programs like VINS, who lost some foot traffic due to COVID. So we were able to come up with some creative programming with respect for COVID regulations that allowed them to then also be paid and stay stable during these uncertain times.
Kendra, I just have another question.
Sure.
I know a lot of people in the community are wondering how you're using the space at the old school. Are you just on one level? Are you using both the second and third floors?
It's an excellent question, and we are very lucky to have found this space, particularly because this building's naturally AC, because it's got the brick and the old on a day like today. Right now, we are primarily the second floor. The first floor this year on Wednesdays accommodated the after school program for the remote when there was remote learning. We are determining what to do with the first and third floor for year 2 and beyond. A piece of that is that partnership with Black River Innovation Campus, and where we would need to house the technological hardware, where they need 1 or 2 rooms to build out the robust broadband digital learning system that I mentioned earlier. What was the library, that's a huge room, and we've moved out the bookcases, and that's where we gather for the Socratic seminars and the big group discussions. Each student then has their own workspace. We did that for COVID so that you could, same space, keep it clean every day. That may change next year. We have also on the third floor, we're using a room for a wellness room where yoga instruction occurs. The first and the third floor, what we need long-term for academics is a conversation that we've just begun for this summer, but also needs to be clarified for our AOE application. For example, the kitchen space at the community center, we have to amend agreements to reflect all that, because the AOE will need to know that we're offering nutritional services. So it's not quite a concrete answer, Sharon, but it is without the space. So I thank the town and the select board. This space is really part of what's making this school happen. It's quite a gift to have this room.
And I don't mean to ask all the questions, but how's enrollment going for next year?
We have, as of today, 15 students committed for September. As Pat mentioned, our cap for next year is 16. As we raise more funds, we will increase students incrementally with those funds. It's a capacity issue because we want to maintain a 1 to 15, one adult to 15 student ratio. And we do have some part-time art staff for next year. And so we have our 15 for September, but each day this week, I've gotten a different inquiry. They're just not formally committed. That's a strange phrase. They are not formally registered and secured. Sorry, that came out kind of different. Yeah, who was that?
Don't mean to interrupt you, but could you speak to, besides Susan, who we've had available on board helping?
Sure. Kate Lamb she's a retired teacher, a former colleague of mine from when I worked up in Chittenden County. She's from this area, so it was convenient for her to come and do writing instruction and some history instruction. We've also benefited from the pro bono services of Sherry Geimer, who's been teaching math at all different levels to our students. And she offered that voluntarily to ensure that we had math. Dr. Eric Felberg, who's going to teach the kayak building course this past, last week, came to do some STEM project, hands-on project-based activities. Eric's career is in New Hampshire. He's a former science and math teacher. He and Sherry are building out our STEM opportunities. I'm a former humanities teacher, so between Kate, myself, and Susan, we are building out the humanities part to make sure the STEAM fits into the STEM. We also have been working with a gentleman, and it speaks to where we want to go with the hybrid model. Daniel Califat, who is a math specialist. He worked with a product we piloted, Kidem. And for some of the students who needed fully remote, they've been meeting with Daniel via Zoom. He lives in California and he's been teaching Algebra 2. He's been using Jamboard and some different Desmos, some different interactive. It's like really, I'm dating myself, an Etch-a-Sketch in the sky, and they write on their iPads and they can see the math problems. It's fascinating. So Daniel, Sherry, and Eric are science and math, along with Vince. And then Kate, myself, and Susan, as I said, are the humanities arm. We had Kristen Carew teach world language. She taught primarily French and is interested in working with us again last year. Through the world languages, we've taken the evidence of developing proficiency in French or Spanish, or we have Mandarin in our program of studies, that's also showing evidence of global citizenship and cultural competencies. And then through our partnership with Black River Innovation Campus, we had a youth coding league, and Corey Joyce, who actually is a full-time employee at Hypertherm and works in engineering for Hypertherm in Hanover, he taught the coding course to our students as part of his community service for that job. And that will also be a feature of next year. And then we had Tara as our yoga instructor. And I think I've covered it.
Yeah.
I'm going through the list. I just did the faculty bios, which is our website. We, as many of you know, are rebranding and we're the Expeditionary School at Black River, and the esblackriver.org website is live as of this morning. And so faculty bios and details of who's who and where they've worked are now all live on that website.
You mentioned ESBR, and I forgot to mention, we actually, through the course of our year, did go through a name change. Initially launched as Black River Independent School. In January, the board chose to choose a name that better reflected our mission and vision, and we went with Expeditionary School at Black River. We definitely would like to maintain our ties to Black River and the traditions as much as we can, and the history. So we're very happy with that name and that change.
And we're still maroon and white. We have the navy blue to reflect the outdoor component of our logo, to speak to that ocean color. And the switch to the Expeditionary School being at the front was a strategic business move. What we're finding in our research of funding, the big philanthropy, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we would like to apply for, is that this area is actually too small. And those who want to invest in a vision like ours would like scale and transformation. So by putting Expeditionary School at the front, we will always be Black River, and we would hope Ludlow is the beta site, and that we can then scale this model in other rural mountain towns like Ludlow, either in the Northeast or across the country. And so they would then be known for the rivers, the tributaries that are in those rural towns.
Anyone else have any other questions?
Sharon.
Sorry, I don't
Sharon? Yeah,
monopolize
that's
this,
okay.
but, how about, Pat, the timeline on the funding? I mean, do you expect to get $300,000 by September? And then these students the towns will pay tuition for this coming year? Or is it another year process?
Well, we're preparing for one more year by fundraising $150,000. At the same time, we're in the process of our fundraising goal of $300,000 as we prepare our state application. And the timeline for that, Kendra, is we're hoping August.
Yeah, fall. Sharon, it's important to note that we are committed to starting the paperwork process of the AOE application in July. That 300K will strengthen our application, would make it a sure deal. But with the partnerships that I've discussed, and with BRIC, we just applied for a U.S. Rural Development Grant, and I'm looking at some other economic recovery opportunities that are coming out that we're now eligible for. We will submit all of those grants as evidence of our academic viability, and get the process with the AOE started. The sooner we can have that 300K in the bank, I never want to think in guarantees, but it just makes for a stronger application. And we're strategizing all sorts of ways. The statute that talks about financial viability is actually very vague. And I had a short, I worked for the AOE back when Act 77 Flexible Pathways was passed. And so through some former colleagues of the state, that's the advice that we've gotten, is the 2 years operating budget. And that's the 300K. We will apply with these partnerships the more business endorsements to work with us to build out the learning pathways and create apprenticeship programs. All of that can help. And I mention that because not everyone has cash to offer the donor program, but there are other ways to endorse what we're doing to help us get those tax dollars.
Thank you.
Well, I think one of the things that definitely will help us, obviously, is any of the donations that we receive through our business pledge campaign, but at the same time, just an understanding of the community and the business community of what we're trying to achieve, and a realization that having a strong school in our community is going to help build a community. And without it, without it, who knows where we're going to head. But I'd like to think that we will be able to achieve our goal and be successful.
Well, and I remind myself that I started this job on August 5th and it's June 8th. And so what the board has done prior to me to give us the opportunity to then open school on September 8th. And when I started in August, we had yet to secure this building. So I'm often reminding myself to step back and think, wow, we really have accomplished a tremendous amount during a pandemic. and keeping sight of that we remained fully open. We've been flexible, we're committed to that. And so our commitment is to be open in the fall for those 15 kids or 16 kids. Our per pupil expenditure that we're budgeting out is around 10K. And by being open as a recognized school, we just need to extend the runway to get the other pieces in place. It's for what we've done in 9 months during a pandemic, it's pretty incredible. And so we just need a little bit more, a few more months to leverage the opportunity. I'm a big believer we've had a crisis that we don't want to waste. So let's make some opportunity out of this.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I think that's it. I don't see any other questions. Thank you so much, both of you, Pat and Kendra, for coming in. Dr. Kendra.
Thank you. Kendra's fine. Thank you very much. And, as ideas percolate and people have more questions, please feel welcome to reach out anytime, stop by. I'm happy to further the conversation in an informal way with anyone who'd be interested.
And I will add, we have a very committed board. We have met every Thursday yearly throughout the year for the past 3 years.
And if I could conclude with a shout out to Art, who's been teaching financial literacy. I neglected to discuss Art in our faculty bio, but he's certainly been a player there, and the partnership with People's United. The financial literacy is a requirement for our graduates, and that will also be a feature of our AOE application.
That's
Thanks, Kendra. It's been a pleasure, and it's amazing what you've done in such a short amount of time.
Thank you. You've helped make it happen. Thank you all.
right. Thank you.